Ghost Guy Daniel here. I know this is coming about a week too late. Let's just say I had a case of the lazies. But here it is. This is a slideshow of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, my own hometown. Let's do this. Okay. Don't know what happened there. Okay, so what you're looking at here, this is a historic photo of the house. So I mentioned in last week's podcast how the energy of the location is very different to other historic places that have ghost stories, historic and haunted. The difference here is that it's two buildings in one. So what you're looking at is the original house. Now, this was owned by a man named Tuckett. You can see at the bottom there, it says Tuckett's House. That was also known as Tuckett's Towers. There's the house as it is today. This was a promo shot. Yeah, this was a promo shot for the ghost walk that we did through the building there. We actually started towards the end of it. We started over in the Cathedral side, which is the Freemasons building. That's the second building that's attached to the house today. And then we came inside the house to do the stories. Now, this is more energy for the family, ghost stories for the family. It's haunted by a woman, and two young boys have been seen in there as well. Now, this is interesting, though. The story of the woman came from the Freemasons, which, if you know, I mean, they're a society with secrets, and they are not the most open bunch. So the fact that they even talked about it at all amazed me, hearing footsteps on the second floor. Now, we discovered the two boys. They were related to the family and a tragic accident that happened in the 1800s, just as the house was being built. So we have Tuckett's House, historically with no Freemason cathedral, and you can actually see the Freemason cathedral right here peeking out over the top. That's what they added in the 1920s. That's George Tuckett himself. He was the tobacco king of southern Ontario, made very popular products. I'm about to get to his most famous product, and he's currently buried in the Hamilton Cemetery. He's got one of the mausoleums, which I'll also show you the picture of. As a side note, I don't know if you could say, I'm going to stay out of politics on this, but you got a prominent businessman. He actually became mayor of the city of Hamilton for a little while. Take it as you will. Now, this is just outside of his tobacco factory. So the house was situated, let's pretend there's a map in front of my face. So the house was situated up here. This would be King Street. And then if you go down go down Queen Street, it's a one-way street, but if you were going the opposite direction down, you would get to York Boulevard. And at York Boulevard, there's a mini mall, modern, like 1970s modern. That's where the tobacco factory used to stand, this building right here. So I will go show you a picture afterwards. Supposedly there was a tunnel underneath. We think we've located the entrance, the tunnel that was in the basement of the house. Of course, there's no more tunnel. You couldn't have that with high rises today. It would be structurally unsound. And of course, there's no more factory, so there's no way of proving that end of it. But let me see if I can zoom in here. There was one thing. So if you look, there's children. So back then, even in Canada, right there, this little fella, that little lady, I think. There's a few there. It's almost like a Charles Dickens novel. There was no labor laws, so children could work. Now, I don't know if it was this photo, but I remember seeing a high quality photo outside the tobacco, and I remember seeing that there was little children smoking. I found that absolutely spectacular. That so back then, I guess there was no ads. There was no the pictures, the disgusting pictures they show on cigarette cases, of rotted teeth and lungs. There was none of that. So the kids who smoked were like, hey, this is healthy for us. I'm sure their doctor told them that while they were also puffing on one. Is that a saying? Puffing on one? Here we go. This is the most popular brand. This was the Marguerite brand. Now I want you to make a mental note of this face. Pretty face. Marguerite brand cigars. That was their biggest seller. So this was something that was sold on, I believe, on eBay. That's where I got this photo from. Somebody was selling memorabilia. And important, do not cut or bite the cigar at the end, as the end is already pierced for your convenience. 1933. That's good. I guess back then you didn't have... Well, now you have the I don't smoke cigars, but it's the little guillotine, cigar guillotine. You can chop off its head or its foot or whatever. I think people would rather do that than have it pre-cut for you. Probably wouldn't be as fresh. Okay, so there's the mausoleum. If you visited the Hamilton Cemetery, if you're ever in the area, you'll know there's 3 mausoleums on the hill. So in the hill, the first 2 on the left are in the hill. Tuckett's is the one on the very left. The one in the middle is Thomas Watkins. He started the Wright House department store. I actually tell a ghost story related to him on the Downtown Hamilton tour. And the one on the right, up on the hill, it has an angel pointing up to the heavens. That belonged to a man named Eli Sanford. He had like a goods manufacturing plant in downtown Hamilton. Used to have the most beautiful house in Hamilton, Wee Sanford or something. It was up where the CHCH building is today. There's a little survey, it looks like the 1970s. They knocked down Sanford's mansion to make that survey. Just ridiculous. And some of the stone from the original mansion was placed into the entranceways of the houses that were put there. So if you ever, in that area, or if you're not from here, just do a Google Maps. It would be King William, near King William, and if you go up to, not King William, Jackson Street, near Jackson Street and Caroline. Yes, that's off the cuff. So this is inside the house. That is Ghost Guide Alexander, who has since moved to the Maritimes, and last I heard was a fireman, which it's a bit of a turn, but he seemed to love it. I mean, he was just so excited about that, but he was also very good at the ghost walks. So he's standing here as Ghost Guide Alexander. That's Marion, one of the helpers who came out to the tours, helped set up. And this is just before a tour is about to begin. So it's standing inside the house. The side entrance would be to the right, this way. I know you can't see where I'm pointing. And the stairs up here to the stained glass window of the woman, which I'll come to a second. So we stood here. We told the story, the history of Tuckett Tobacco, the house itself, and of course the death of George Tuckett, which I'm not going to get into right now, but I'll come back in a future video. I would make this video way too long, but it's very interesting, and also got that story from the Masons too. So this young lady right here, similar face. Let me go back. I don't know if the artist, you see, it's a similar face, but that's who she's based on. She wasn't anybody real, even though the hair's lighter. It's probably just a design choice. This woman is like an artifact of the house. I believe it's related to the family, the Tuckett family. So yeah, she's not real. This was just like a design choice, but she's actually quite famous. So if you see in any of the movies they filmed in here, she's always featured. Now the only one, I don't think they showed her in It Chapter 2. This was the house, the hotel they were staying in. It was this house. But in the TV show Hannibal, in the movie Crimson Peak, they showed her quite prominently. Now, is the woman in here is said to be the woman who haunts the house. That was one of the factors, because of an investigator who had an EMF detector that wouldn't go off in front of the painting, and tried to make the ghost angry to prove its existence. And as the investigator was walking down the stairs, the grand staircase, approximately about halfway down right here, she got a thud in the back that kind of pitched her forward a little bit. Now, she grabbed the railing, thank goodness, but the message was received loud and clear. Don't piss off the spirits, for lack of a better word. So here's looking down from the above into the main area. So Ghost Guide Alexander was standing right here. This is one of the dining rooms. I'm not sure what they would have used it in the past. The main dining room's over down the hallway here. There was a scene in Crimson Peak that was in the main dining room. Beautiful grandfather clock. I loved hearing that thing go off. Even when you were telling the stories, I didn't care. I actually stopped talking just to listen to it. This is the second level. Now, the two young boy ghosts said to kind of hang up here. Psychics have seen them peeking out from the railings, going up to the third floor. Now, in case you're wondering, this photo here is not of one of the young boys. You can see this little fellow with his pantaloons. It's quite adorable. His name is James Buchanan. Now, if you're into Hamilton history like I am, you know that Isaac Buchanan was the owner of Auchmar Mansion, which is also a known historic haunt. This would have been his grandson, if I'm mistaken. I'm sure famous historian Leanne Plutherow could answer that question much better than I could. But James Buchanan, let's say grandson of Isaac, was one of the founders to help bring Freemasonry into Hamilton. There's a lodge named after him. So this painting somehow ended up in the Scottish Rite. This would have been after the Freemasons took over in the 1920s. But yeah, another grandfather clock. And the little boys said to peek out here. They also have come down to the landing here. There was a photo that was caught I might do for a future video. You are here. I forgot that was in there. Excuse me. There's poor production values going on here. This is the entrance into the largest Masonic cathedral in all of Canada. This would be the entrance that we'd walk in. I'd actually have people, you are here, that's why they would sit on this side. The guide would stand approximately here and then talk towards the group, talking about the history of the Masonic order and talking about the most famous disappearance. There's so many ideas for future videos, but I can't get into it now. I don't want this video to go longer than 20, 30 minutes. That'd be insane. This is in the back. This is one of the altars that's used for rituals. Really not too much to report on that. It was just an interesting feature. This is backstage. Yes, the Masonic Lodge kind of looks, or the cathedral kind of looks like a theater, right? The seats on either side and the back. It's made for decent acoustics. I wouldn't say the best, but decent acoustics. And you had a backstage, and you had a curtain that could be up in a backdrop, so you could use for different rituals. You had the backdrop. My personal favorite was a depiction of the 7 stages of hell from Dante's Inferno, and that's the backdrop that was down for the show Hannibal. So if you ever watched that, there was a scene where Gillian Anderson of X-Files fame, she was doing a speech to a crowd, and it was in the cathedral here, and the backdrop, which would have been behind this photo, was down as that one, and that's my personal favorite. I got to see it in the show, but I also got to see it in real life. This is out of order, so this is just outside. The door into the cathedral, this door right here is right to the right here. So that's just outside of the cathedral, and you have these beautiful stained glass windows that I personally adored. And I actually had many Freemasons that came on the tour, and I asked a couple of them, and they gave me two different answers. But the second one, I knew he was of a higher level, and he told me that it represents the different stages, I believe, coming from left to right, the different levels that you can reach. I forget the number, what's the highest, but it's just a representation. So very Freemason-esque stained glass windows. Now this is what I've been teasing. I'll probably make the thumbnail. Is the basement storage space. So if you go into the basement of the house, which is completely off limits now, but if you go into the basement of the house, there is a 1920s men's washroom. It's amazing. I don't have any photos to show you of that, but it has the old-fashioned sinks and the old-fashioned stalls, and everything is like frozen in the 1920s. But if you go into the back corner of the room, there was this doorway that led into a storage space. Now, as you can see, they were using it for cleaning products. But we knew the history of the house coming into this. And we knew that there was this rumor that there was a tunnel that went underneath the ground from the house to the factory. So it would have to face due north. And so we did the look through the house, look through the cathedral. Wouldn't have been the cathedral, right? Because the house was the only part that was there. But we looked everywhere. And this was the only thing we could really find. Now, I want you to know, when we did our research, we got as deep as possible. I stood in front of this, and I had a compass, and I held it, and it was pointing perfectly due north, which would be the exact direction that would have taken Mr. Tuckett down to his factory. So this is the best exit, because if you look at it, you can see there's this platform piece of wood in the wall here. Could have been the top to hold up the stone. And then underneath, you can almost see it's even starting to separate again. Do you see that line? Kind of on the other side as well. It's hard to see in this photo. But I think this is where the tunnel used to begin or end, however you look at it. That has since been bricked up. And chances are on the other side of this, it's all just filled in dirt. But yeah, in the basement of the house, and perfectly due north. So I do believe with all my heart this was the entrance to the tunnel. Is it my favorite photo of them all? It's just Chris. Chris, he was he was the extreme dead dude. We had Gary as well. Extreme dead dude. And you know you're at a ghost event when somebody is sitting here. This wasn't even Halloween or anything. Somebody is sitting here dressed like this with the old plague doctor's mask, and the two very regular folks are just sitting there having a fun conversation. It's like he just walked over and sat down. He didn't need to say anything. I don't even think they knew he was there. Maybe the guy's about to turn his head and find out. And of course, this lady over here on her cell phone. Just not a care in the world. But yeah, when the walks come back, I hope, Chris, if you're watching this video, I direct the message towards you. Bring Extreme Dead Dude back when we finally get our Ruthven and Hermitage tours going eventually. It'd be nice. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the slideshow. If you're wondering, the Scottish Rite, it was the people who were running it, which was fine. It was understandable. They were uncomfortable with having the large groups in the building. After all, it is more of a, I won't say underground, and I won't say secretive. They don't like either of those. But it's just the stuff that's in there, it could be of a sensitive and confidential nature. So for that reason, the tours have been put on hiatus. And my hope is one day they'll come back, because I'm going to tell you, people loved it. It was our most popular tour in Hamilton for the time that it was there. The house was a mystery to the city, and by opening the doors, if anything, it, I think, alleviated some of the more dark rumors of Freemasonry. So I felt it was serving a purpose. I guess some folks disagreed, but I will keep my fingers and toes crossed that you will have a chance to eventually go in and see the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. My name is Ghost Guy Daniel, everyone. Thanks for watching.